It's the second day of finals action here in the Mersin Gymnastics Hall, and here's our story so far. A battle for team supremacy between Romania and eventual gold medalists Ukraine. A Romanian junior winning every single individual title, and three Romanians, the strongest individual performers in senior qualification for today's Apparatus finals, led by Larisa Iordache, who will be competing in the vault final coming up. So welcome then to the European Championships of Women's Artistic Gymnastics of 2014. Your time machine has worked. But wake up from your slumber, dear friends. This is not a dream. It is actually 2020, and Iordache is part of your day because she's in all four finals coming up. Romania appears to be back in business. They took Ukraine to the wire. The brilliant Ukrainians fought off injury and illness to win team gold by less than 2/10. Their tears of joy, a memorable end to a year that has seen more than its fair share of tears of sadness. Whereas Ukraine and Romania were returners to a European team podium, Hungary wrote a brand new chapter. Their bronze medal winning mixture of veterans and newcomers secured a first ever women's team podium finish. Now what? Well, four Apparatus, that's what. Four finals, starting with the vault competition. And what might we see today? Well, he's going to see a lot because he's in charge of the cameras. Let me throw down a few stones in the forest to help you navigate your way through the next couple of hours of live coverage. Let's keep an eye on Romania's gold medal tally. They're currently 3 gold medals away from surpassing the Soviet Union as the most successful ever nation in the history of women's artistic gymnastics in Europe. Team leader Larisa Iordache is a gold medal away from equalling the totals of Simona Amănar and Beth Tweddle. Hungary has only won 3 gold medals at the European Championships, but come in today as top qualifiers in 50% of the finals. Slovakia has never won a European Championship medal. They have the second strongest qualifier on uneven bars. So are you ready, therefore, for a little modern history? Because you might be about to get it. Time to be immersing ourselves in Mersin. Ollie Hogben here, bringing you all of the action. And we have the introduction of the women's vault finalists: Elina Virova of Latvia, Cenga Bachkoy of Hungary, Zofia Kovac of Hungary, Dilara Yurtash of Turkey, a great moment for her, Ioana Stancilescu of Romania, Anastasia Motak of Ukraine, Larisa Iordache of Romania, Tijana Konent of Croatia. They are your runners and riders in the women's vault final. So let's just take stock of what is about to happen. We have the top qualifier for this as Zofia Kovac of Hungary. 2 of Hungary's 3 gold medals at the European Championships have been won on the vault. They absolutely excel at vaulting competitions. We start with Elina Virova of Latvia. So 2 vaults to be undertaken by all of the gymnasts in this competition. I'm sure many of you know the vaults have to be from different vault families, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Virova entering 2 4.6 difficulty vaults in qualification. Vault that we expect to see quite a lot in this competition is the full twisting Yurchenko vault. There are a couple of gymnasts who have a more complex form of that vault, which we'll come to. But Virova has got a lot of tidiness to the way she vaults. Important that the gymnasts have good toe point, that they don't let the legs cross over when they're twisting round, and that they get, as one might expect, a good amount of amplitude in their push away from the vaulting table. It's that sweet spot of almost the 45-degree angle of trajectory and height. There's x-axis and y-axis, as it were. So 13.4 first vault for Virova. That's down by less than a tenth from her qualification mark. She did come into this as the 7th strongest in qualification. Had a super year last year, Virova. Marked her 17th birthday competing at the European Games. She carried the flag for Latvia at the closing ceremony. And she was the second reserve for the floor final at the European Championships last year in Szczecin. So nice to see her in a final. Little bit piked as she landed that handspring front pike half. Fault that carries with it a 4.6 difficulty tariff as well. Won her first international medal a couple of months ago in Hungary, balance beam silver in Szombathely. Did a nice job at the start of the vault in extending the toes, lost the form as she got closer and closer to the tram lines. Bit of leg separation. And then the step forward will, as I'm sure you can imagine, carry a deduction with it. Judges will look to see there's no leg bend in the pike work. So a 13.1 leading to a 13.25 for Virova. So she's down a little bit from her qualification mark by a tenth and a half, as we now have a look at Csenga Bácskói. Hungarian gymnast, 4th strongest in qualification and an accomplished vaulter. Now she's already 4/10 of difficulty up on Virova's first vault, if she's credited. And that's always the caveat. I'm sure many of you remember her performances at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires. A little bit of a jarred landing, one of those situations that gymnasts sometimes say the ground meets them rather than they meet the ground. Strong athlete though, she composed herself well, could easily have overbalanced as she landed there. She trains at the Central Sports and Youth Association in Budapest. Club opened in the 1960s, and she scores 13.7. And again, much like Virova, she's down by just under a tenth from her qualification mark. And I'm sure it goes without saying for many of you, but the qualification scores do not carry over. Second vault for Bácskói had a more secure landing. Fourth competition of the year for the Hungarian, in a year that's had precious few opportunities to compete. When you think about Hungarians vaulting at the European Championships, invariably you think of Boglárka Dévai in Glasgow in 2018. Still, I think one of the most emotional reactions to winning a gold medal that you'll ever see, especially because it took about 30 minutes for her to finally get confirmed as the champion. I think she was the first to vault in the final, and Bácskói said that was the moment that led her a couple of months later to go off to Argentina and take the Youth Olympic silver. 13.65. 13.6 for the second vault, so her average score takes her into the provisional gold medal position. Now we move to the top performer in qualification, Zofia Kovács of Hungary. Starts with the double twisting Yurchenko vault. Much more difficult work than we've seen so far in the first couple of competitors. And that 5.4 difficulty score. One of the reasons for her scoring 14.533 in qualification. I'm sure you can see she's quite heavily taped up just to guard against any further strains in this competition. It's a well-executed vault. It's very controlled. Has a certain style to her. Making sure that she extends the feet, points the toes. 14.35. So the execution there just down a fraction from qualification. All in all, she's down by just a couple of tenths. So we're seeing a little bit of a pattern here. Now, there's room to make up a little bit of ground here for Kovac in terms of execution from qualification. She had an 8.766 for that vault in qualifying, so let's see if she's managed to regain those lost tenths with that work there. Got her form back after maybe a slightly uneasy takeoff. And if it sounds as though I am being overly pedantic, I always refer you to the fact that the judges are there to start on 10 for execution and just find those tenths here and there. Difficulty, of course, goes from 0 and works upwards. So, Kovac, 14.05. She's up by a hundredth of a mark from her performance in qualification. Is in the provisional gold medal position. So we look now at Dilara Yurdash of the host nation, the 16-year-old from the Konak district of Izmir province, where so many of the Turkish gymnasts are based. Surprise all-around silver medalist at the national championships in March, the vault champion. And this is her second senior international competition after last year's Mediterranean championships. Ah, it's lovely vaulting. A difficulty, as she's just a 16-year-old athlete, can increase over time. It's always an enormously emotional moment for an athlete, making an individual final in their home competition at continental level. It's 13.6 for the Turkish athlete. She's up by almost a couple of tenths from qualifying. That's good work. So we expect to see the handspring front pike half. Just to refer back to Kovac, she did gain a couple of tenths back from her second vault in qualifying. Hops to the side but controls it well, and Dilara Yurdash can be very pleased with that performance. Her first senior European Championships. She competed at the junior competition in Glasgow in 2018, that lovely competition at the wonderful Hydro Arena. And her first international competition at those Mediterranean Championships yielded the all-around bronze in Cagliari last year. That's a very nice beginning to that vault, really does establish the pike position with authority. .35 for that vault, leading to a 13.475. And that puts the Turkish athlete, in the provisional bronze medal position as we reach the halfway mark. So as things stand, Kovac, Bachkoy and Yurdash, Hungary, Turkey. Now the first Romanian athlete, Ioana Stanciulescu. Another of the athletes with the double twisting Yurchenko. She took a 0.3 penalty in qualification for this. Didn't quite get her landing right, a little bit on the low side. A lot better on that occasion. So certainly expectation of a stronger execution score and no penalties for going out of bounds. 6th strongest in qualification, but potential to move and shake. Doesn't she snap into the toe point nicely? The apex of the vault. The double twisting Yurchenko, called by some of the purists the Baitova, named after Svetlana Baitova. Provokes a little bit of argument among gymnastics fans, but there's no need to fight over a Baitova. 14.15, that's a big old step up for Stanciulescu from 13.7 in qualification. Now she will need that if she is to contend, because this is not as difficult a vault by comparison. Handspring front pike vault with a little step forward. Carries with it a 4.2 difficulty. So far we've seen gymnasts undertake the handspring front pike half. That extra half turn just adds 0.4. And as a result, this is a 4.2 difficulty score. So it will be interesting to see whether Stanciulescu has got the combined difficulty to push up onto a podium place. .575. The answer is yes. She is in the provisional bronze medal position with a 13 for that vault. So really did take advantage of those extra 3.5 tenths that she gained from the first vault. What that means is Kovac, Bachkoy and Stanciulescu. Yurdash has dropped down into 4th place. But, what about Anastasia Motak, the 16-year-old gymnast from the northwest of Ukraine? All-around national champion in September. And she competed at the European Youth Olympic Festival last year in Baku, won a silver medal on vault. She won vault at the European Games test event as well in Minsk in April. And she too has difficulty abounding in that first vault. Well, I never. And then just strolls away as though that were the simplest thing in the world. This is a very interesting gymnast. Anastasia Motak keeps her toes well pointed. Doesn't perhaps quite have the sort of heel-to-heel tidiness of some of the other vaults we've seen, but there was a great authority in the way that she landed. Second strongest performer in qualification. She scored a 14.25, virtually the same as her mark in qualifying, 14.266. Now this second vault, 4.8 difficulty. Motak, a gymnast who grew up idolising Lilia Podkopaeva. And with its culture of named skills, gymnastics is one of the few sports where you can genuinely emulate a hero. And she again has a sense of assurance in how she lands the vault. Again, there's a little untidiness in some of the form mid-flight. But there is a challenge here that's been laid down to Hungary's Zofia Kovács. We still have the third strongest performer in qualification to come. Just a little bit arched as she went into the apex of the vault. Yes, the execution down a little there from qualification. 13.85 does go into the silver medal position. Kovács holding on. But what of this gymnast, Larisa Iordache of Romania? Third strongest in qualification, 13.716. Just to confirm, Chenka Bachkoy now moves down into the bronze medal position. So we're looking at a 14.05 for gold, a 13.85 for silver, a 13.65 is currently holding bronze. Her score in qualification, 13.716. So in the mix. Yes, indeed. Oh, isn't it just wonderful to see Larisa Iordache back competing? Yesterday, the first time that she'd officially competed for 3 years. She was effectively a guest performer at the Romanian National Championships. And that's what inspired her selection for this team. Now, her landing of this in qualification was more than a touch on the unsteady side. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether this was steadier. Her execution was 8.533. There is room for a little bit of a pickup here on execution score. Yes, quite a pickup actually. 14.2, 8.8 for execution. She's gained a third of a mark or thereabouts. This second vault, the Tsukahara full, 4.8 difficulty, and her execution score was 8.7 in qualification. Going to be quite a close final here. Larisa Iordache has executed it nicely. Gymnast who has 13 European Championship medals. She won her 6th silver medal yesterday. 5 golds. Yet to be a vault champion at continental level. But my word, when you see all that she has been through, not just the injury but the illness coming into this as well, you cannot help but feel the most extraordinary sense of hope for rehabilitating athletes. If she can do it, then goodness knows who else can. 13.875. She's on the podium in the silver medal position. So what we know therefore is Zofia Kovács has guaranteed herself at least a silver medal. Iordache has just guaranteed herself a medal. Anastasia Motak now sits uncomfortably as Tiana Korent of Croatia, veteran vaulter, 31-year-old, the first ever Croatian to qualify for a European Championship final. That was vault in Moscow in 2013. Now, both of her vaults in qualification were 4.6 difficulty vaults, so unless there's a real surprise in store, likely to find herself a little bit priced out of the market in terms of difficulty. Loses her form in the second half of the vault, hence leading to that rather piked landing. So at the moment, Kovac, Jordake, Motak, those are the current standings. What about the current standings? 13.2 for her. I have to say about Tiana Corinth that she really proved herself to be an athlete of tremendous charitable spirit during the pandemic. Come back to that in a moment and what she's been up to. That's a nice second vault. Yeah, she's a trained accountant. She volunteers at a cat shelter, and during the pandemic she sewed and distributed masks, which began as an enterprise just to help her colleagues at the cat shelter. It then led into something bigger, and she really started to industriously work to help safety in her local community. She's a trained coach as well, like a lot of gymnasts are after they've been competing for some years, and a trained judge. She knows the code of points impeccably well. And she has 18 times been a national champion. Remarkable, including the vault title last year. Corinth goes into 8th position with 13.225, and as a result of that, there is a glorious moment for those of you out there who are fans of Hungarian gymnastics, because it's another vault gold for Hungary, following in the footsteps of Adrian Varga in 1998, of Boglárka Devai in 2018. Here in 2020, it's Zofia Kovac who wins Hungary's 4th ever gold medal at the Women's European Championships of Artistic Gymnastics. All-around silver medalist in Romania in 2017. And she is a European champion, so a great start for Hungary. The classified results in the women's vault competition: the bronze medal to Anastasia Motak, the 16-year-old from Ukraine, only just 16. About a week ago. The silver to Larisa Jordake of Romania, the 24-year-old getting her 14th European Championship medal, and gold to Zofia Kovac of Hungary, 20-year-old from Dunajváros in the centre of the country. Look back at how Anastasia Motak secured the bronze medal. First continental honour for her. Not for her, yet another for her. 2 silver medals in 2 days for Larisa Jordake. Welcome back. And welcome back a vault champion from Hungary. The third to do so. Zofia Kovac. Oh, they do produce some wonderful vaulters in women's artistic gymnastics in Hungary. And we shall have, in just a moment, the victory ceremony for that vault competition. And it gives us just a moment to pause and think about what is to come. Well, not really. It gives us about 10 seconds to pause and think about what is to come, because, my word, they've got those medalists there quickly. It's now time for the victory ceremony in the women's vault competition at the 2020 European Championships of Women's Artistic Gymnastics. And welcome to continental podiums, Anastasia Motak, bronze medalist. Once you get back on a podium, you often stay there. Larissa Iordache, the 24-year-old from Bucharest. She takes her 14th European Championship medal. The European champion is Zofia Kovács of Hungary. The city she's from is known for its steelworks. Talk about steel, there's some. That was a very composed and aggressive display on the vault from the Hungarian. She's made of stern stuff. And she's also made of gold now. So the medalists present themselves with their honours. Fitting celebration of their work. And we now hear the national anthem of Hungary. The sounds of Hymnus, the national anthem of Hungary. Music written by Ferenc Erkel in 1844. And there they are, the medalists in the women's vault competition at the 33rd European Championships in women's artistic gymnastics here in Mersin, Turkey.